these recordings going. Let's get these recordings going. Let's get these recordings going. So today we're going to talk about the ultimate AI workflow. The ultimate AI workflow. We're going to review, starting off with ChatGPT, Claude, Higgsfield. Number four, CapCut. Right. So that's the workflow right there. Those four are going to take you to the next level. Those four are going to take you to the next level. Right. It all starts with the language learning models. Right. Talking to and creating the script of what you need to get done. And so if you're familiar with this channel, you know we're creating learning with Zion. So we're going to be reviewing that. Right now we got a Zoom going. So eventually we're going to be able to share our screen to show you how to get that done. And so let's get over to ChatGPT right now. And so we already have a pre-made prompt that we put together, right? And so the prompt says, rewrite, make the learning garden, or let's even start from the top of here. So I love actually how we broke it down. Let's start up here. So we said, as we're talking to the prompt here, because again, the focus for this prompt was about Africa, right? So we want to make this one talk about creating a script for Africa, right? And so rewrite. You are a top of the line YouTube children's animation producer for Learning with Zion Ofwani on YouTube, and your goal is to create an informational YouTube video on the 54 countries of Africa and also to provide the context of when those 54 countries became divided due to colonization. Your goal is to provide historical facts about the first tribe of people on the earth ever found there and how every culture migrated from this particular tribe. You are to complete this in 10 to 15 clips in your form and make it a very informative for all age levels and make it an awakened teaching. The goal is for the video to be 2 to 9 minutes long. So have at least 9 minutes worth of clips to create, right? And so with that, I'm gonna read back the response, right? And the response is I would make one important creative change before production. Don't teach all 54 countries on one 9 minute episode. Instead, make this episode one of an entire Africa series. Children retain information much better when each episode focuses on one major idea. It also gives your channel dozens of searchable videos instead of one. Learn with Zion, Amazing Africa, How Africa Became 54 Countries. Season 2, Every Country of Africa. Right? Season 3, The Great Kingdoms of Africa. Again, right now we're in ChatGPT, so pull up your ChatGPT, and we're already showing a workflow that we're going to do for Learning with Zion, right? And so The Great Kingdoms of Africa, Africa, African animals, right? African language, African heroes. And episode 1 would explain Africa before colonial borders, ancient civilizations, human origins, why there are now 54 countries, introduce every country on a colorful map, right? How you doing, Keandre? See you there. I see you there. Let me pin your message. I see you there, family. Appreciate you. Feel free to comment, y'all. Feel free to like, share this out. Again, we're talking about that workflow. That workflow is going to be ChatGPT, Claude, Higgsfield, and lastly, CapCut, right? So that's the workflow right there. This is the workflow that you can use for any creation that you want to do in your life because you got to make sure that you're creating. This is all part of our Finish the Families That You Started Academy. And one of the things that we're teaching is how we utilize our show Learning with Zion to teach real world information. And so we want to share more of the creation and the ways that we've created that. And so we want you to do the same because this is important because the cost of entry has lowered in Hollywood, right? The ability for you to create for your family is now more clear. And so there are things that your children want to learn and you just may not have the time to teach them. So you have to even automate that. And so one way to do that is by creating these programs, creating these learnings that your child can pick up and learn from, right? Because you're now even automating their learning, right? Somebody said everybody make him get a lot of like. Come on, go ahead. You're not a moderator. Add as a moderator. Go ahead. I appreciate you, sister. Keon or a brother. I'm Keandre. Keandre, yeah. Appreciate your family. And so gets the statement right. So the African before colonial. Uh, so that's one thing that we're going to talk about, right? And you're welcome, fam. So ancient civilizations, right? Human origins. Why there are now 54 countries. Introduced every country on a colorful map. And this is the output that it gave us, right? This is the output that it gave us. It said the statement that every culture migrated from one particular tribe is not established historical fact. The strongest scientific evidence supports that modern humans, Homo sapiens, originated in Africa roughly 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, right? And populations gradually migrated into other parts of the world over tens of thousands of years. However, identifying one specific first tribe from which every culture descended is not supported by current archaeological or genetic evidence. And so that's ChatGPT's version of it, right? And when I think about the tribes, I'm particularly thinking about the Sand tribe. That's one fact. That's one tribe that is for sure one of the first recorded tribes on Earth, right? The Sand people, and they're located close to South Africa, right? And so it gave us a script of episode one, learning with Zion, Africa, the mother continent, and I like that because it is right. It is better to first start generally and more specific, kind of like a pyramid, right? So it's easier at least again, because you got to know your target audience. And so for this one, since our target audience is children that we're looking to speak to, and even to adults as well, because we also want to make it applicable to adults. I appreciate you too. I see you there, man. Add you as a moderator as well, man. I see you there, family. I appreciate y'all. Because this is information we want y'all to utilize, right? Again, the workflow is ChatGPT, Claude, Higgsfield, and CapCut, right? And so right now we're in ChatGPT, and I'm reading you all the prompt that it gave me based on us looking to create a new episode that's going to be about the 54 countries in Africa, right? And so clip one, it says, the earth rotates, the cameraman zooms towards Africa, the continent glows gold, animals, rivers, pyramids, forests, and smiling children appear. Zoom, Zion walks into the frame. Zion says, hi, friend. Did you know many scientists say the story of modern humans begin right here in Africa? Today we're going on an amazing adventure across the mother continent, right? And so it gave us clip two. Clip two is visual. The visual of that one is Africa appears without countries border, just one giant landmass. Narrator, right? And the narrator is going to say, long ago, Africa didn't have 54 countries we know today. People lived in thousands of villages, kingdoms, and communities. They spoke different languages. They traded with each other. They built amazing civilizations. Clip three is going to say visual, old stone tools, early families, campfires, children, animals, migration, arrows leaving Africa. Narrators. It's going to say scientists have discovered some of the oldest known Homo sapiens lived in Africa. Over thousands of years, groups of people traveled into Europe, Asia, Australia, and eventually into the Americas. As people settled in different places, they developed new languages, traditions, and cultures, right? So everybody, and I remind y'all, right, everybody is of a Nubian African descent, right? So don't let them lie to you. We are all one family. We are one family. We are one family, right? Remember that. Remember that, right? So visual Asia, Egypt, right? Nubia, Axum, Great Zimbabwe, Mali, Benin, Carthage, Timbuktu. These are some of the oldest civilizations here on the planet Earth, right? So Nubia, for real, facts. Nubia has been home to many great kingdoms and civilizations. People built cities, libraries, universities, trade routes, arts, museums, and science. So I like that. But what I wanted to do now, at least what I want this particular edit to have is I want to make it clearer. So I asked it to rewrite, make the learning garden the main location. Because one thing I learned with AI is that when you give it too many, when you're not clear with the location, it makes it harder, right? And so my name is Michael Ofwani, and we are Learning with Zion. I'm one of the creators for Learning with Zion. My son Zion is also one of our co-producers. He tests a lot of the episodes, whether it's actually going to be creative for him. And so we're utilizing our channel today to teach more about how to create your own AI workflows. And so, Learning Garden, right? So one thing I learned with creating with the AI, at least the generation, you want to first start with a location, the character, and then the action or the props or the action that the characters are taking, right? So you want to think about it and break it down like that, right? You want to think about it and take it down like that, right? And so somebody asked, why is it only two persons talking, but there are three people's watching? I'm not sure. So one way to think about this, right? So is you want to think about the location, right? Think about it. It's a movie set, right? Because it is literally like you would create a movie production, right? And with that movie production, you got to think about the actual information of that movie. You got to think about the location. And so one thing to do is to create the scene. What helps is create the scene, the location. So you can do this through ChatGPT as well. ChatGPT is a good image generator. But an even better one is Gemini. So I didn't necessarily add that to the workflow, but that's one that you can utilize, right? Gemini, Nano Banana is what they call that, is what you can use to refine it. It makes it much more refined and much more detailed, much more better rendered, is what they say, right? And so And so when you then find the location, you then think of the characters, right? And so you want to have one main character doing the action. It's when you start to get to more characters, you then have to literally create specific names for that characters, because then in your prompt, you want it clear what those characters are going to be doing, right? Because otherwise what will happen is you'll have one character in the background, but if you're not clear what that character is doing, then that character will be talking or saying the different line. And so that's when the AI starts to kind of confuse itself, right? So you want to be able to be clear with the action that the character is doing. I appreciate that you like this, man. This is good. This is good. So appreciate you, Keandre. And so it's good that you're able to take this information and apply this to what you're creating for yourself, right? Because again, that's what we're here to do. And so what I asked to do is rewrite, make learning garden the main location, right? And we will make it a review of all 54 locations and say how to say hi, friends, in each of the main indigenous African languages, right? So that's first, we're just gonna generally talk about the 54 countries today, right? Because we can get into the history of it over time, so that it's clear for the audience and it's clear for what we're talking about, as well as also the clip. So what it then shot back, right? The clip one. So the entire adventure happens around the giant Africa map station inside the learning garden, right? Zion remains the lead character. Leo helps with call and response moments, right? So the hook is learning garden, giant colorful map of Africa rolls into the center of the garden. Zion runs beside it. Hi, friend. Did you know Africa has 54 countries and thousands of languages? But here's my question. How would you say hi, friend, if you traveled across Africa? Today we're visiting all 54 countries. Leo jumps beside Zion, all 54. I'm going to ask it to uh, rewrite, rewrite this prompt without Leo. Make only Zion the lead character talking, right? And let's first focus on all 54 countries and the languages of those countries first. In fact, let's break it down by region and start with West Africa, Nigeria. And you know why we start with Nigeria? Because that's where I'm from. I'm talking about. We got to start with the best. No pun intended. You know how we do. And not only, and because within Nigeria, they also got the Igbo. You know what I'm talking about? So we got to start with the Igbo tribe, Dalu. You know what I'm saying? 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 You got to start with the Igbos. And so let's start with, let me write that in there. Let me start with the Igbo tribe. Start with the Igbo tribe and Yoruba, and then do all the other countries. I'll just get all others, right? Right. And so we enter that. So we let that cook up. We let that cook up. And so while it's cooking up, right, what I like to then use Claude for, Claude is then going to be the verifier. Claude is a little bit more precise with the way that it automates, the way that it writes, right? It's a little bit more thoughtful and a little bit more uh, altruistic in the way that its approaches, right? ChatGPT is very quick, but and so a little bit more down to earth with that. It's a little more simpler. Chat is a little Claude is a little bit better of a writer, a little more formal. So what we're then gonna do is take the prompt that we've come up with. So let's first read through, make sure it's okay, because you always got to check the prompts that that at least it's meeting the goal. So clip number one, hook says, how many languages are in Africa? Center of the learning garden. Behind Zion stands a large, colorful map of Africa with no labels initially. Camera begins close on Zion. Zion says, hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa. So today we're starting a big adventure. We're going to learn the countries of Africa, where they are, and some of the languages people speak there. Are you ready? Let's go. And the camera pulls back, and the entire African continent illuminates. right? So the 54 countries, to the 5 regions of Africa. So they got West, East, Central, North, and Southern, right? So that's going to be the way that they broke it down. They broke it down to the 5 regions, and that's fair. That's fair. And so today we're starting right here. West Africa glows. West Africa. We know we're going to start with West Africa, baby. Clip 2, right? So in clip 3 is going to be welcome to West Africa. Large West Africa sign rises from the garden. The 15 African countries, right, appear around Zion as floating puzzle pieces. West Africa has 15 countries. In the Africa's unions, regional groups. Let's count them. The names appear: Benin, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, and let's see while it's waiting, while it's loading for us, right? Because it's still kicking out the output. Because what we're gonna then do is take this same particular uh output, the same chat or the same response prompt. We're then gonna put that into Claude, right? We're gonna put that into Claude. So we're gonna copy it here, right? And we're gonna share the screen out in our next video or in our next upload. Right now, this just wants to be a talk through with you all. Again, the workflow is ChatGPT, Claude, Higgsfield, CapCut, right? So CapCut is where you're gonna be doing the main productions, and so from then uh at least when you get those workflows in place, you can then automate each of those workflows, right? Meaning you can have AI do each of those specific steps on its own, right? You can have it every day come up with a video idea, right? It's an example of automating this first part that we're talking about. So right now, we are thinking about the 54 countries to put together. But one way to automate that is to literally ask it, okay, how do you specifically, right? How do you specifically, or every day I need you to scrape the internet, right? The kids automation platforms, and come up with a clear model or a clear or video ideas, and we're going to choose from the video ideas, right? So that's one way to automate that first step, right? And so right now we've now moved over into Claude, and we are entering the response into Claude, basically to get its opinion, to get what it thinks about it, and we're if it doesn't, and see what it thinks about it. If it doesn't like it, we're going to ask it to rewrite it to make it better, right? So Claude again is a little bit more refined, a little bit more or a little bit more technical in its writing. So you want to use Claude for that. You can really also just start off at Claude as well. But the reason why we start off with ChatGPT is Claude burns a little bit more, uses a little bit more usage. So ChatGPT has a better workflow in that regard, in that you can kind of, it's better for just asking questions that you would ask the consultant. So you first kind of consult with Chat to make it, if you have a big idea, to make it a little clearer. And then once you consult it with Chat, you then go to Claude to refine that idea, right? You then go to Claude to make it more clear. So let me tell y'all what it responded back. It said, "This is a strong framework. The country, people, language distinction is the kind of thing most children geography content gets wrong, and building it and is a hard rule from clip 6 onward is what we make the series hold up. Few things worth resolving before we take it to production. The AU grouping is correct, and so is your Mauritania note. The AU places Mauritania in its northern regions, so 15 for Western Africa is right. The UN geo scheme does put Mauritania in West Africa. 16, so clip 13's different classification system teaching moments is factually well founded, worth keeping. Says the greeting formula isn't actually delivered. Clip 12 states the pattern as countries, location, languages, one greeting, but only Igbo Ndewu appears anywhere in this script. Yoruba gets no greeting in clip 7, and clips 9 through 14 have none. If the greeting is part of the formula, you need 13 more of them scripted. That's also the most repeatable, most memorable part for young viewers. Important, right? So you see why we don't just jump into Higgsfield to create what was put out in chat. We first make Claude. Claude is basically like the executive producer, or the editor, better said. It's the Claude or chat is the writer, and Claude is the editor, right? So just to make it make sense of the workflow, right? So clips 11 and 12 are placeholders. Examples of African languages appear for Cote d'Ivoire and nothing all for Guinea-Bissau, and the Gambia. Every other clip has specific names on the screen. Pacing is the real risk. Clips 9 through 14 move through 13 countries in roughly 4 minutes, about 18 seconds each. For the age band, Zion's workbook's target, that's faster than retention allows, and it undercuts the depth you deliberately built into Nigeria, considering splitting 1A, Nigeria, and the Gulf of Guinea coast, right? Right? It says Nigeria through Sierra Leone, Senegambia, and the Sahel, Guinea through Nigeria. Two 7-minute episodes will teach better than 1 minute. So two 7-minute episodes will teach better than one 12-minute one. And they give Senegal, Mali, Nigeria the same treatment Nigeria gets. Production math at 35 to 50 seconds. These aren't clips in the generation sense. Each is a 4 to 8 minute generation sequence. 15 of them puts you somewhere near 90 generations versus roughly 13 for Zion and the missing number one. Worth scoping the credit budget before you lock the structure. So you see another thing is thinking about like the actual, because again, everything costs. So right now we're actually on the Higgsfield plan. That's why I like Higgsfield right now because we're doing the unlimited generation. But the only thing with the unlimited generations, you can only do one at a time, right? And so for today, we are gonna just generate one, generate a couple utilizing our credits. But ultimately, just be in mind of that when you do get the unlimited plans. For a lot of these generating places, you usually can only do one at a time, and it usually takes a lot longer, right? So add that into your workflow. So one thing to do is having if you have if you're gifted to have two computers up, right? When that's one generating that you can even on the same computer really work on a different product, right? Or actually start to edit the other product while you're waiting for it to generate, so that your time is being utilized much more effectively and efficiently. Because you want to be in mind and think about those things before you get into it, right? So production math at 35, 50 seconds. These aren't clips in the generation phase, right? It says one small language note. African languages appear a lot in Zion's dialogue. Nigeria doesn't have only one African language. Children won't parse the qualifier. It's there for adults' precision. In dialogue, language alone does the work. The framing can live the on-screen text. So it's asked, want me to build out the missing pieces, the 13 greetings, and the language list for clips 11 and 12. So I will respond back, yes. Add everything you thought was missing, in addition to making the clips first focused on all 54 countries being presented first, and then breaking it down by the region and then the languages in those regions, right? So that's what we want to do, right? So we're going to ask it to write back there, right? And so while it's cooking, what we're going to do is just put out at least the first part of the clip. I do like the 54 countries. I think it does have the list. And so one way to do that is to ask ChatGPT first to create a visual image of the country. So we're gonna step back to the writer, ask it to create a visual image of the 5 regions of the 54 countries of Africa, right? Create a visual image of the 54 countries of Africa for the Higgsfield image generator, right? Right. So let's see what pops back. It's going to create an image while we're doing that. So we're going to pop back over into Claude, see if it's finished up. So it's still typing up right now. So while it's typing up, we're going to open up Higgsfield to get that generation ready, right? So right now we're in Higgsfield. We're going to get the scene going, just see how long it takes to generate, just to show you how long generations take. So right now we're trying out that C Dance 2.5. So with the promotion, it gives you 720p. It can go up to 4K. And make sure, yeah, it can go up to 4K. But if you want unlimited, right? If you want unlimited, it has to be 720p. And the seconds, it can go up to 20 seconds, right? So 20 seconds in Hickfield, but in without uh without without unlimited, the max is 30 seconds, right? So you can do 30 seconds, not unlimited, and C dance 2.5, right? So that's what you can put together. So one thing we like to do is to really just copy from a previous prompt, right? So we're gonna recreate from a previous prompt, right? And so from that previous prompt, I was using C dance 2.0. So we're first going to upgrade it to say 2.5 now because that's now available. It wasn't available when I was doing this. It does allow for edit video, audio. That is something to think about as well if you want to kind of a little bit more precision on that. You're then going to hit unlimited, right? And so the unlimited, because again, you want to make sure that it's not costing you, at least to start off with. So again, the learning. So we're going to remove the previous prompt, right? We're gonna see what's come up, what's finished up with Claude. Claude is still thinking, writing that through, and then Chat is still Chat. Well, Chat has actually, let's see if it finished the image. We may want to add. Yep, so it did finish the image, the 54 countries, right? And so because it's finished that image, we can now save that image to our downloads, right? And we're going to then upload it. We're then going to upload it onto our Higgs field. So, yep. So yeah, it looks pretty good. That does look like the 54 countries in Africa. Okay. So that's good. Um, I may want it to just let's see, redo the image without, because again, it might confuse it if it has Zion in the image that we're presenting. What tends to happen is it'll create it just as you requested it. So if you have Zion as a character and then you have another image and then you have Zion again, it'll have two Zions, right? And so you want to clarify. So redo the image without Zion as as the map should pop up as a overlay, right? Just want to be clear with what it's doing as you're creating it. So we're gonna ask it to redo that image. So now it's redoing that image. While it's recreating that image, we're gonna see if Claude is finished. Claude has finished. Claude has finished. So we're gonna now do the first episode. So we're gonna check out the edits that it's made. Learning with Zion, the 54 countries of Africa, episode one, all of Africa, then West Africa. Main character Zion's only main location, Learning Garden, clips, estimated runtime, primary lessons, the 54 countries, the five regions, and African languages. Secondary lessons, one country often contains many peoples and many languages, and languages don't stop at borders. The teaching laws of the series, these are non negotiables across all episodes. Law one, never say the language of country about an indigenous language. Always one of the languages spoken in Nigeria is Igbo, right? Said, let's read that again. Said, oh, so this is it's first providing the non-negotiables that it's telling the the prompt, right? So it's telling Higgsfield how to speak it, right? So that's one thing I do like about it because you have to give it instructions like it's a producer, right? So law two, country, people, and languages are three different things. Nigeria is a country, Igbo are a people, and Igbo is a language. The three card devices, clip 8 makes this visual and recurs every episode. Law 3, every country gets the same formula. Country, where it is, language, examples, one greeting. Law 4, languages don't stop at borders. Every time a language reappears in a new country, Zion notices it out loud. Zion says languages, not African languages, in dialogue. The precision qualifiers for adults lives in the on screen text and the narration framing, never in Zion's mouth. Children won't paste it, and it subtly implies African language is a category rather than thousands of distinct tongues. So, what's the actions? All of Africa, clip one, hook. How many languages are in Africa? Center of the learning garden, right? And so, behind that, Zion stands a large, colorful map of Africa, unlabeled and glowing softly. Camera begins close on Zion. So the first line will say, Zion, hi friend, what if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa, so today we're starting a big adventure. We're going to see all of Africa and we're going to explore one piece at a time and learn how people say hello. Are you ready? Let's go. Right, camera pulls back, the entire continent illuminates instead of on screen, right? So clip two is the all 54 countries, the big reveal, right? Location Africa map station. The blank map fills in every one of the 54 countries snap into place as a separate colored piece, right? Like a puzzle completing itself. Zion says, look at that, 54 countries. Every single one has its own name and its own flag and its own people. Zion spins slowly, arms wide as the map wraps around him. Flags cascade around the map edge in a ribbon. Zion, that's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're going to do. Zion holds up five fingers. We're going to break up Africa into five pieces, right? 54 countries, five regions, one continent, right? This is the most generation expensive clip in the episode. Consider building the 54 map field as a single held wide shot with an animated overlay rather than a moving camera. So it already kind of provided what we had already thought about with the images, right? So let's just start there. Let's just start there. So we're going to do clip one. This looks like clip one should take 10 seconds, and we're just gonna see how it does clip one and two together. All right, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna position that. So let's do add that over to Higgs field, right? So we're gonna upload the image. We're gonna add an image there. So let's see. Let's add this image. Upload that file there, right? So I think this is the file. Actually, I remember we said we were creating a new file in ChatGPT because again, remember ChatGPT is your writer, Claude is your editor, and Higgsfield is your producer, right? That's clear, right? And then CapCut is your final editor or your final production, right? It's where you go for final production, right? So Higgsfield is where you go to record your scenes. That makes sense, right? It's where you go to record your scenes, and then CapCut is where you go to edit and make sure that all your scenes are in cohesive or all make sense. So we're gonna upload the 54 countries right there. So we got a new one that just has the map that without Zion in it, so it doesn't confuse the generator, right? So we're gonna upload that. That's uploading right now as we speak. One thing that Higgsfield does is that there's a because again, one thing AI has done is that it's had a lot of IP or copyright issues or with a lot of different Hollywood films, and so they seek to always protect themselves by first making sure that that protected content is allowed or that it's an original idea, basically. Because if it's not an original idea, then it won't be able to be uploaded. Because why? They don't want to be sued, right? They're already being sued as we speak, but the money they're making from the industry or the demand is too high, right? That it's worth them still pushing through and just putting safeguards to lower their exposure or lower their legal risk, right? So again, that's another example of, some things, or ask for forgiveness rather than permission, right? Ask for forgiveness rather than permission. And so AI is one of those things. You got to be a creator and continue to create because you have the opportunity to save a lot of money and still put forth an excellent product, right? And that's what um, everyone loves to do because a lot of films cost a lot of money but don't yield a big amount of revenue. And they have a big staff, they have a big production, they do a lot to create it. They had to pay a lot of high impact clients or actors, but ultimately it still doesn't yield the result that they're looking for, right? And so you have the opportunity to create, put yourself even, right? And that's going to be one of the things that we talk about in our next film, right? Because once we put out, we've been working on a couple different projects. One is Starseed, right? Be on the lookout for Starseed, right? That's going to be one particular product that you all will see. And then the next one is in real life, right? IRL. So be on the lookout for these two productions that we're going to be creating with Ofani Animations, all under the Learning with Zion Media, right? And again, Learning with Zion Ofwani is one of the animations that's created by Ofwani Animations that's under Learning with Zion. And so again, what we just described right there is the structure, right? You got to have structures for everything that you're building. You got to have funnels. You got to have focuses. You got to be able to break down the areas that you're learning things into. So let me hit generation while we're waiting. So we're going to generate a free version, and then we're also going to generate a paid version just to show you how much quicker that paid version is. Because it's going to be much quicker. I already know. That's just how they do it. It's how they get you to use up all your credits, y'all. You know what I'm talking about? But it's okay. Y'all are worth the credits because I want y'all to learn. I want y'all to also save time by me having to do it right here because somebody did this for me. I do it for y'all, right? Because this is how we grow as a community. Because I want more people to create. I'm here to create more creators, right? I'm here to empower more people to tell their story, their righteous stories. And so you have to make sure you do this for other people, right? You have to make sure that you empower other people to create for our world, for our children. Because again, a lot of people are missing out on this opportunity to teach their children through their own creations. And so right now we're generating that. But what I'm going to do is then generate another one, the same clip, because usually what tends to happen is that it'll probably take at least like 2 to 3 clips. You know what I mean? 2 to 3 clips to get it done. So right now, um, the previous one was 720p. One thing I like to do is just to save some credits is instead of generating 720, we generate in 480, because what you can then do is after you've generated all the clips, you can upscale it, right? You can either do that in CapCut or you can do that in Hicksfield once you know you like the clip, right? Because sometimes it doesn't make sense to spend a high amount in your credits for a clip that you don't even like anyway, right? Because you may not it may output a clip that isn't at all what you're looking for, and now you don't get those credits back. So it's important that treat it like a literal scene, like because sometimes if you think about it, what the analogy of this is when you're if you were a Hollywood producer or a Hollywood director, that's why they have to do multiple scenes multiple times, right? Because a lot actor or actress might forget their line, right? Or even if they do hit all the lines, they may not have said it with the or the pizzazz or the vision that you initially saw or that you wrote the line with, right? And so you ask them to do it again. And so it's no different when it comes to the generations that you're creating, right? You want to then think about it like, okay, like that was scene, take one, action, right? Take two, action, right? And so we're gonna generate that. And so doing it on 480 was cost 60 credits, as opposed to doing it with 720 was gonna cost 130 credits, right? So if we're just doing the math, that's now two. I just if with this at this workflow rate, two more or double the video output, right? As opposed to doing 130, we get to do 160. So you'd get double the amount of of videos, literally, right? And if it comes to when it comes to actual the quality, you can always upscale it later, right? You can always upscale it later, and that's what CapCut is about. So right now, they're both processing. Um, uh, Already, the one that I paid for is they because what they do is they put that on a priority queue. So it's a priority queue. So it's already they basically because that's how they encourage you to spend more of your credits so that you get your work to yourself quicker. Because again, if you're listening to what we're talking about and finish the families that you started, your time is more important than your money. And so you want to get to the point where you are willing to spend more of your money to get more of your time back so that you can put together the works quicker, right? If you are doing the unlimited flow, it's better to then just build that into your workflow, right? So plan to just do the unlimited, take your time, because then what you can then do, or what that allows you to then do, is have more time to actually make sure the words, the flow, the storyline is good, right? Because basically how you can do that is just by reading it, right? If you when you read the script, if it's not even interesting in you reading it, it probably won't come off that interesting when you depict it, right? So that's a good sign to know if it's going to be a good story that you're telling or not. If it doesn't interest you, or if you don't even laugh, or like, or for example, like if it doesn't evoke emotion, like there's sometimes I'll read it and I'll laugh at a script. I'll be like, "Ah, that's good." So uh, treat yourself like the viewer as well as also the producer, right? So like, will this be entertaining? Because that's what it's all about. Edutaining more specifically, right? KRS-One, we're here to edutain people, right? By you edutaining the masses, right? By you entertaining the masses, then they'll come to be educated, and once they're educated, they'll come to learn more of your art. So again, so one of the generations just finished. I believe I started the generation, the unlimited generation at 8:20. At 8:20, I did this one at 8:22. It's already finished, right? The priority one's already finished. So we're gonna play that just to see how that's sounding right there.
Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa. So today, we're starting a People Say Hello. Look at that. 54 countries. Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries,
That's
but
good.
people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa. So today, we're
That's
starting a
good.
People Say Hello.
I like
Look
it.
at that.
I would
54
say
countries.
I could tell
Every
it's a
single
little
one has
rushed,
its own name.
maybe because it's only 20 seconds. So what I'm gonna do is break down the clips because originally it was supposed to be into 2 clips, right? So we're going to instead just start with we're just gonna do it one clip at a time just to show the difference. And really because I like I like more the important part of just showing the countries, we're just gonna do clip 2. Clip 1 was cool, but clip 2 is where like the big information starts to go. So we want to spend more time on clip 2. So we're gonna just kind of erase the rest of that part. Right. So let's erase this part. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak 1,000 languages? Well, so today we're starting a big adventure. We're going to see all of Africa. And we're going to explore one piece at a time and learn how to say hello. Let's go. So we're just going to erase that part. We're just going to erase clip 1 and only have it generate clip 2, right? So we're going to try that again. Take 3, right? That's see what I'm saying. And so that's a lot of what really takes time, right? It's because you can present the best prompt. You can have it so clear. You can have the visuals. You can have all the character references. You can have all the images in place, and it still just doesn't necessarily yield right back the response that you expected or that you preferred, right? So just think about that, right? When you're creating, you have to leave time for this, right? You have to leave time for being able to wait and see if it's a good production, right? And so whether it is or not, we're gonna take what we do have from this first one. It was good enough. And again, you may not see it on the screen, but we've already broken it down into folders, right? You want to add have a learning with Zion folder, so all your assets are saved in one place. And then the next level of that is breaking it down into clips. So clip 1, clip 2, clip 3 is another example you can do, or you can even do it by scenes, and within the scenes are a number of clips. You can have scene 1 and then have a parentheses clip 1 through 5, right? Boom. And that's the first part. That's another way to do it. So you also want to have another folder for characters. So all the characters and their references, because the references is how you keep the images consistent throughout all the generations. You have to make sure that you keep it consistent, and you have to be able to provide how they'll look. So even how they look on from each side, through each angle, how they talk, their voice, things of that nature, right? You wanna have that all present in your character reference so that it's consistent throughout, right? And then and then one thing Hicksfield allows is for you to create a character. So it allows you to actually basically save the information of that character so that it's more customized. And even if you want to add more video or more audio to it, you can also edit it that way as well. So that's another way to do that. You then also the third one that you want to have is props, right? You want to have the props. So they're holding one big prop for Zion was his green crayon, right? His green crayon. So you want to then actually literally create an image of how you want that crayon to look. Because the reason why that's important is because if you leave it to the generator, it'll generate like 10 different looking crayons, right? And different color greens, and right, and different things of that nature. And so you want to be clear with it. The clearer you are with your prompt, the clearer you are with what you want to be created, the better output you'll get, right? And so it's all about getting the best output the first time. Why? Because you save more generations, and the more generations that you save, the more that you can produce, right? The more creations that you can put together, right? And so the free one is still processing. Literally, it still says processing, and the one that I already priority queued, I priority use credit for is already generating, right? So just to show you how quickly that they do it, right? So they market unlimited, right? But they don't tell you that you're gonna have to wait, right? So that's one thing to be mindful of. So it's not just like get unlimited. I just use it back to back to back to back to back. No, that's where it is a little scamish in that regard, right? Because you don't get to just utilize all your credits all at once. So be mindful of that and add that into your workflow, right? Or at least what you want to do is already know what you want to create, right? So that you're patient enough to know how it's going. So it already presented to me. It's already done the priority queue. So let's listen to it, see what it created.
Look at that! 54 countries! Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that!
Right. That was better. You can tell, like, based on the voice, more patient.
Every single
I don't
one
know if y'all
has
can
its
hear it.
own name.
Let me hear it. Let me show you. Let me turn it up a little bit. Just because we kind of rushed it, since
Hi,
we had
friend.
clip one, clip
What if I
two.
told you Africa has 54 countries,
Look
but
how
people
much
across
quicker.
Africa speak thousands
Yeah.
of languages? Whoa. So today, we're starting a People Say Hello. Look at that. 54 countries. Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa
Right.
has
So you see
54
how
countries?
when I rushed it, or when I did a full one, took a lot. It took a lot longer.
Look
But
at
this
that.
one, much more patient.
54 countries.
So that's why
Every
it's
single
better
one
to
has
just
its own
clip
name,
it, right?
its
Just do
own
one
flag,
clip at a time.
and its own people.
Because when you
That's
try
a
to
lot to remember
get all
all
the
at
prompts
once.
in,
So here's
it
what we're
literally
going to
has
do.
to.
We're going to
It
break
has to do it
Africa
as you
into
requested.
5
That's
pieces.
how it
Look
plays.
at that.
So if you give it a lot of words to have to say,
54
it's gonna
countries.
take its time,
Every
or at least
single
it's gonna
one
rush.
has its own
It's gonna
name,
rush
its
the
own
words
flag, and
in order
its
to make
own
it fit.
people.
But if you give it more
That's a
time
lot
to
to
make it more
remember all at once.
stylized and
So here's
give it
what
more
we're going to do.
emotions,
We're
it's gonna
going to
look
break
better. It's gonna
Africa
flow better. It's
into
gonna sound
5
better.
pieces.
And so that becomes better for you.
Look at
That
that.
becomes a better output. Yeah, much better.
54
We're
countries.
gonna download this.
Every single
Just
one
for the
has its
sake
own
of our
name, its
production,
own
right? We're going
flag,
to then move
and its
over to
own
CapCut.
people.
So we're right
That's
now
a
in
lot
CapCut
to
right
remember
now.
all at once. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break Africa into 5 pieces.
No pun intended. That's what the colonizers said. They're gonna break up into 5 pieces. Ain't that funny? But all right, so let's moving on to there, right? We're gonna we're going to go to downloads, right? So we're gonna download what we've created, right? We're gonna download what we've created, and we're gonna add it. That's why I like CapCut. Makes it real easy. Drag it over. We're gonna drag it over into our production. Boom. It just added on there. And so I'm gonna send out the
Look at
actual video of
that.
what we're doing. Just so y'all can see the CapCut version.
54 countries. Every single one has its own
Let's now
name,
then add the
its
other
own
one
flag,
too.
and its
Add the other one as well. Yeah. So
Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa
another thing
has
to do,
54
right? So
countries,
you remember how
but
we
people
said it
across
was
Africa speak
very
thousands of
fast. What you can do is go to audio or speed, go to speed and slow it down. So these are different strategies, different techniques you can use.
Hi,
Slow
friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak
See that?
thousands of languages. Whoa, so today we're starting a People Say Hello. Look at that, 54 countries. Every single
Usually
one
below
has its own
80.8
name, its own
is when it
flag,
becomes
and
weird.
its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that! 54 countries!
Much better.
Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its
Much
own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break Africa into 5 pieces.
Okay. So we're cooking with hot
Look at
grease, y'all.
that. Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has
Let's see if that-
54
Let's see
countries,
if the
but
free
people
version
across
is
Africa
done.
speak thousands of languages?
Let's see if
Whoa,
the free
so
version is
today
done.
we're starting a People Say Hello. Look at that, 54 countries. Every single one has its own name,
That
its
free
own
version
flag,
is done.
and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that,
Still generating. So you see how long the
54
how long
countries.
the free
Every
version, the
single one
unlimited, not
has
free,
its
but the
own
unlimited
name,
version
its
works.
own flag,
takes.
and its own people.
So one other things to talk about before we close out for this one, because we're gonna finish this product. But I love the transitions. That's gonna be the critical piece, right? I love to save it in favorites. So the balloon party is one good one for children, right? So we add the transition there.
We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that!
Right?
54 countries!
And that's the only thing
Every
about like
single
having
one has its own
multiple.
name, its own flag, and its
It might be
every
better to
single
put that
one has
piece
its
later
own name,
with more
its
clips.
own flag, and its own people.
It's better to
That's a
just
lot to remember
put
all
it
at
out
once.
one at a time.
Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa, so today we're starting a People Say Hello. Look at that, 54 countries. Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all.
Right? That's not
Look
bad.
at that! 54 countries! Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once.
So one other thing you can do, you can add text. You want to add a particular text to say, start with the template. Let's say, let's do, this is kind of the font that we utilize a lot with this creation. Let's say, put it over here. Let's say, with the text, let's say, have it say, I love my Africa. I love my, let's say, Nubia. Let's know it as. For the sake of it, what people know it as, right? So let's see right there.
Break Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that!
All right, so you say it was put in backwards, so we're gonna redo that. Africa, love
Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that!
so we can line it up better with the transition, because the transition kind of shows you where it starts.
Africa into 5 pieces. Look at that!
All right, so we can just keep it going up there.
Look at that!
Yeah, that's a good example of just some things you can do, and you get the idea. Once you then go through all your clips, right? It pretty much becomes easy for you to then create, right? It becomes easy for you to then create one at a time. So again, for the workflow, remember ChatGPT is your writer, Claude is your editor, Excel is your producer, and CapCut is your final executive producer or executive editor, right? It puts it all together. And so the unlimited one is finally just finished. Let's check it out, see what it look like.
Hi, friend. What if I told you Africa has 54 countries, but people across Africa speak thousands of languages? Whoa, look at that, 54 countries. Every single one has its own name, its own flag, and its own people. That's a lot to remember all at once. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break Africa into 5 pieces. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, friend.
Yeah. So I like it. 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 Yeah. It's important to overstate, to be able to see the different ways things can be depicted. I definitely like this last unlimited version, so I'm glad we waited for it. I'm glad y'all got to see it on the recording. And so, on that note, we're going to end our recording. We're going to stop our screen share. And that is going to be it for today, y'all. Yeah, yeah.